Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you are listening to a Radulich Broadcasting premiere podcast. Damn you, Hollywood. And I'm your host, Mark Radulich. Yay! So tonight we're doing something a little weird. You know, we've been doing Scott Pilgrim stuff all week long, and this was initially intended to be an on trial for Scott Pilgrim versus the World. I've told the story enough times this week, I don't need to get into it again. This started with a discussion of Nintendo Core, and we landed firmly in the world of Scott Pilgrim. So we were going to do that later this year when there was some space on the calendar, but then I got an announcement on Twitter, which had actually been planned for last year, as I'm finding out, but because of COVID-19 it was delayed until this year, that they were re-releasing Scott Pilgrim back into theaters for its 10th anniversary. And I was like, oh, well, okay, since it's being released into theaters, let's go see it in the theaters, and then we'll talk about it like it's a new movie. So here we are, it's Damn You Hollywood, and I am joined by Scott Pilgrim enthusiast, Sean Comer. How do you do, sir?
Welcome to a movie about those sudden big things that just change everything you think you know about everything.
Sean, we talked about the book at the top of the week, and this is now the bottom of the week. What does 2 up and 3 down mean to you, soldier? End of an inning. Sorry. Anything from the discussion Monday that you wanted to add to tonight's discussion as far as your relationship to the property?
I mean, not as far as my relationship to it, really. I think we covered it pretty well when I said that I came upon it because my best friend in the entire universe, Jess, recommended it so highly to me, and I finally sat down, gave it a try. I wasn't quite in the right state of mind, so I was kind of meh the first time, and then I gave it another try quite some time later, and my head was clear enough, the fog had lifted, and I just saw it for every glorious, beautiful, action-packed WTF thing that it could possibly be. And to be honest, every time I've watched in the years since, I've just found maybe just one or two little things that I've adored about it just that much more.
Well, it went back in the theaters April 30th. I don't think you had an opportunity to go see it then. I did. I took my kids to go see it in the Dolby Theater.
My town does not even have a movie theater.
Oh, goodness gracious.
No.
So I will talk a little bit about sort of my viewing experience with this, then we'll get into the plot, and then we'll review the movie. If I've ever seen it before, I barely remembered it. So this was basically like watching it new and cold. And I took my kids, and I was very curious to see what they would think of it, because I showed them the trailer, and they both like video games, and they like that kind of hyperkinetic, busy kind of movie, to where I was like, I bet this will appeal to you, especially my son who's big into video games. And when I told him the premise was that it's this guy Scott Pilgrim has to defeat this girl's 7 evil exes like they're bosses in a video game, he was like, sign me up. And so we watched it.
Hey, Mark, hang on. I'm sorry to cut you off. I just realized something. Mm-hmm. I need to adjust one thing really quick, and then you can go ahead and jump back in. I'm being a little bit of a perfectionist about my own audio, but my audio was going through my Bluetooth headset instead of the studio mic. So, yeah, I just want to flip that over if you don't mind.
Mm-hmm.
Hang on.
So, when the movie was over, I looked at my daughter, and I was like, what did you think of it? And she was like, I liked when they were fighting. I liked when there was stuff happening that was busy on screen. She was like, I was not into the romance at all. Like, why does this guy have to fight her 7 evil exes for her love? Why can't he just fight them? And I'm like, well, because then you don't have a movie. My son was like, yeah, I just didn't pay attention to those parts, but I was super into the fighting, and this was, and like he gave it like rave reviews. He was like, this is the best movie ever. I'll tell you what my own kind of viewing experience with this was. And I kind of talked about this a little bit on Monday. I get, Scott definitely has an arc. Scott goes through some stuff, and he comes out better at the end than he started at the beginning. And so I can kind of forgive the fact that Scott's not a particularly I don't want to say he's poorly written, because I don't think that's the case. I think in terms
No.
of crafting a character, he's not badly written. I just don't like his character. And I find myself not really rooting for him to succeed, because I think he's kind of a shitty person. So what's left once you're like, I'm not really into the hero? Well, you have your ancillary characters, and you have your love interest. And it's funny, because I liked a lot of the ancillary characters, and I liked a lot of the gags that went along with the ancillary characters, like the guys in the band, Kim, the drummer. I thought she had Alice. That might be my favorite thing I've seen Alison Pill in since I saw her in The Newsroom. She's fantastic. I liked Knives Chow. You described her as a character with earnest, and she is adorable and earnest, and she's just great.
It's impossible to not love Knives.
Yeah. And then Kieran Culkin as Wallace is hysterical and like my favorite character in the movie. So it's like there. So once I accepted the premise of the world is magic, and they can do and he, with no explanation for how he can do these things, is automatically a video game ninja, and these things just happen. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to get caught up then in that sort of thing. I'll just accept it for what it is. And those parts were fun. And Edgar Wright, I think as long as you're not letting Edgar Wright direct Marvel movies, he's just like letting him do whatever he wants. Like, if you'll remember years ago, we did a Long Road to Ruin for the Three Flavors Cornetto trilogy, and we loved Edgar Wright. We think he has such a great visual eye, and so I think this was right up his alley. And I think he does a great job with it. But that was kind of it. It was like, well, it's a very interesting looking movie with some very fun characters. Unfortunately, if this is supposed to rest upon the shoulders of its leads, it kind of falls flat for me. I'll let you respond to that, and then we'll jump into the plot.
Well, what we have here is we have a movie that has to make up for all of the story, all of the character development, all of the swirls of personal evolution that had to be cleaved out. And it has to make up for it with the comedy and the bombast and the music. There's a lot of steak that had to be left off the plate. Mm-hmm. And I think that in the hands of anybody who was any less aesthetically adept than Edgar Wright, this would have fallen even flatter at the box office than it somehow did. I mean, keep in mind, by modern standards, $60 to $85 million is a pretty damn modest budget. Mm-hmm. About 30 years ago, that was arguably blockbuster money right there. That was really going all in on whatever you were trying to make. This didn't top 50 million in theaters. But the fact is and that's the real beauty of these books, is the fact that the books really bring it with both elements so much in such equal measure that Edgar Wright, it's almost like he had an easy time really amping up those fireworks. Mm-hmm. And knowing kind of just what to leave in, just what to keep the focus on in terms of the development of the characters, so that the stuff that got left out of the books, you regret that you didn't get to see it play out with real people, but at the same time, you absolutely cannot say anything bad about. Well, I won't say anything. I won't say you can't say anything bad, but you're hard pressed to kind of just write off the finished product writ large for it not being in there. Although, I mean, it does make for a fascinating discussion of this is the version of these characters that we got for the 2 hours that Edgar Wright so masterfully put together. But this is what we could have gotten if in some perfect universe we could have maybe gotten 2 or 3 movies, or something like a Netflix or an HBO Max or a Hulu series.
Yeah, Scott Pilgrim reimagined as a series, I think, would work a lot better.
Oh God, I'd love it.
Yeah.
I would. Well, there's Scott Pilgrim versus the animation, which I've never seen, so I can't say anything about it one way or the other. But I'm just talking if we were to get a live action version.
Yeah, for sure.
With these characters, with the flashbacks, with more emphasis on the side characters like Kim and Stills and Knives. I mean, it's hard to call Knives a side character, but get a little more into what happened before Natalie was Envy. Stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm 100% in agreement with you there. I think with this 10th anniversary and in the 10 years interim between when the movie came out and now, there being a re-examination of it being accepted as a cult classic, it being so ingrained in the culture as it is, I think there's space in the world, especially now with the infinite, with the long tail of streaming, that someone should option this as a series. You can do 6 to 8 episodes is about right. I don't think you need more. I don't think you need to go 10, 12, 13. I think 6 to 8 would work. And fully flesh out the books and tell us this story, because I think that's probably the biggest criticism I think I have of the movie is what you said, because you have to squeeze 6 books into a 2-hour, and not even 2 hours. It's only an hour and 12 minutes, so it's almost 2 hours, but it's not quite there. You have to squeeze 6 books into 2 hours, and it's like, okay, well, some stuff's just not going to make it onto film, and God only knows what they shot that didn't make it. You know what I mean?
There really wasn't much. There really wasn't much that got left out. Mm-hmm. It's my understanding that what we got is pretty much the most complete version of it.
Okay.
It is kind of the quintessential. There's some extended scenes here and there, but from what I've seen, nothing that gives you like a moment if you're watching the director's cut of, say, okay, Donnie Darko, good example. If you can actually make it through the extended cut of that insufferable movie, the stuff that got left on the cutting room floor helps so much of it make so much more clear-cut sense. It really is almost a wholly separate movie.
Donnie Darko is one of those movies where you're not allowed into the cool film club unless you've watched it and seen it. And it's one of those where, like, I want to be in the cool film club, so okay, I like Donnie Darko, and in my head I'm like, I don't understand the appeal of this film.
Fucking keep it. It's one of those movies that cons people into mistaking weird and nonsensical and meandering for being inscrutable and meaningful and poetic. No.
Between that and Run Lola Run, I really did question what did it mean to be like a film person? Because I'm like, if this is supposed to be the height of film, maybe this isn't for me.
It is. It is a movie that is thoroughly up its own ass.
Yeah.
What was the movie we reviewed earlier this year? Nicholas Refn, Ryan Gosling.
Only God Forgives.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Only God Forgives. It's like a longer, more obnoxious Only God Forgives. But no, and it's funny you say about 6 episodes, because in preparing for this, I went back and I decided to have some fun by, instead of just reading the books, I headed over to YouTube and I checked out some of the dramatic reading interpretations. People have done the comic dubs, and the best one, the episodes that have been run so far, that is about how long each episode has run, has been about 60 to 90 minutes. Mm-hmm. And they've been able to get through about one book each that way. So if you were to do that, you could get through the whole thing in about 6 episodes. Maybe stretch it to 7 or 8. if you feel a little bit precious about some things that you maybe just can't quite all wedge evenly into the episodes quite the way you'd like. If you want to really cling desperately to the integrity of the text. But I mean, that could be absolutely sensational.
All right, so the plot of this thing. In Toronto, 22-year-old Scott Pilgrim is a bassist for his unsuccessful indie garage band, Sex Bomb. He is dating Knives Chow, a 17-year-old high school student, to the disapproval of his friends in the band, his roommate Wallace Wells, and his younger sister, Stacy Pilgrim. The adorable, the wonderful, the absolutely just fantastic.
The luminous Anna Kendrick.
Yes. Oh.
You know, just to interject, one of my favorite things about this movie, you get a nice mix of a few performers who are really stepping outside their wheelhouse and just clearly having the time of their fucking lives. Hi, Chris Evans, how you doing? And then you get others who maybe have one thing they really do better than anything else. And here, god damn, do they shine doing it. Hi, Michael Cera, Aubrey Plaza, Anna Kendrick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a shame Brandon Routh didn't work out as Superman because, you know, he has got such a body and such a presence, and he's such a handsome man. Mm-hmm. And you see him in this, and he was like, wow, this is a perfect role for you as the vegan bassist and everything, the psychic vegan bassist. And it's like, you really could have been a great Superman. It's a shame you were in such a shitty movie.
And he's also just such a goddamn goofball, too.
Mm-hmm.
Just sit there and just ponder for a minute that in one movie you got Captain America, Captain Marvel, the Punisher, and the Atom and Superman.
Mm-hmm. Who was the Punisher?
Thomas Jane. He was one half of the vegan police.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right, so moving on. Scott meets an American Amazon delivery girl, Ramona Flowers, played by Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who is the Huntress in the last Harley Quinn movie.
Oh, goddamn, I didn't know that.
Yep. After having first seen her in a dream, he loses interest in knives but does not break up with her before pursuing Ramona. When Sex Bomb plays in a battle of the band sponsored by record executive Gideon Graves, Scott is attacked by Ramona's ex-boyfriend Matthew Patel. Scott defeats Patel and learns that in order to date Ramona, he must defeat her remaining 6 evil exes. Scott finally breaks up with Knives, who blames Ramona and swears to win him back. Meanwhile, Scott proceeds to get attacked by and defeats the next 3 of Ramona's exes, Hollywood actor and skateboarder Lucas Lee, superpowered vegan Todd Ingram, and lesbian ninja, like you do, Roxy Richter, while also confronting his own ex, pop star Envy Adams, played by Brie Larson, who, you know, just as an aside, Brie Larson, since the Captain Marvel thing, has gotten such a bad rap for being kind of a shrill, bitchy actress because of her outspokenness with regards to inclusiveness. And I don't want to get into that conversation. We've had it. I think our takeaway with Brie Larson was, we get you, valid complaint, probably more important things to worry about than, you know, inclusiveness in reviewing. But you know, she's unfortunately been mischaracterized, I think, and she didn't do herself any favors. And she didn't do herself any favors, unfortunately. You know, sometimes it's not what you say, but how you say it. But I'll tell you this.
I think that what she said needed to be said exactly the way that she said it.
Okay,
it may not have been best for business, but quite frankly, at that point, she had heard fucking enough.
Mm-hmm. Either way, the hate that has come out against Brie Larson is undeserved.
Completely unwarranted. Absolutely.
And, you know, and I look at her, like, Ronnie and I talked about this when we reviewed Community, where she shows up for an episode of that, and, you know, and she's in this too, and I'm like, holy shit. Before she was in Captain Marvel and her career went in the toilet, you know, because everyone turned around and started to hate her. She's like, she's in all these great movies, and she's such a great actress, and this poor gal doesn't deserve all of that.
Her career's in the toilet? When did that happen?
Well, I'm being somewhat facetious. It's just people. Brie Larson went from this actor who's been in a bunch of things people like, and then said some shit during Captain Marvel, and now everyone hates her. And it's ridiculous.
She's also got an auto spokes deal, a guaranteed part in the Captain Marvel sequel, and a hit
fine.
YouTube channel. I think Brie's gonna be okay.
Yes, Bree's fine. And a hell of an actress. I really enjoyed her in this. Moving on.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
However, Scott grows frustrated during the process, and after an outburst regarding Ramona's dating history, she breaks up with him. At the next battle of the band, Sex Bomb defeats Ramona's 5th and 6th Evil Exes, twins Kyle and Ken Kachanagi, earning Scott an extra life. Despite this, Ramona appears to get back with her 7th Evil Ex, Gideon. Sex Bomb accepts Gideon's record deal except for Scott, who quits the band in protest. Gideon invites Scott to his venue, the Chaos Theater, where Sex Bomb is playing. Resolving to win Ramona back, Scott challenges Gideon to a fight for her affection, earning the power of Love Sword. Knives interrupts the battle while attacking Ramona, and Scott is forced to reveal that he cheated on both of them. Gideon kills Scott, and Ramona visits him in limbo to reveal that Gideon has implanted her with a mind control device. Scott uses his one-up and re-enters the Chaos Theater. He makes peace with his friends and challenges Gideon again, this time for himself, gaining the power of self-respect. Sword. After apologizing to Ramona and Knives for cheating on them and accepting his own fault, Scott and Knives join forces to defeat Gideon. Free from Gideon's control, Ramona prepares to leave. Knives accepts that her relationship with Scott is over, and at her encouragement, he leaves with Ramona to try again. I don't know if you'll get this reference or not, but it's from Family Guy. But all I could think about when this movie was over, and then I'll let you have your say, is the episode where Quagmire has to go to trial for committing statutory rape, and he loses, and he gets sentenced to prison, and they try a bunch of different ways to get him out of it, and finally his mom, who's re-entered the picture, just sleeps with the judge, and because she slept with the judge recants his sentencing, and so Quagmire goes free, and Peter at the end goes, so Quagmire got away with it and learned nothing. And maybe that's a bit harsh, but that
was your takeaway from Scott's evolution?
Yeah, I
did we watch the same movie?
It's entirely possible we didn't, but
I don't think we did.
I just did not love the way this ended, but I'll leave it there and I'll let you have your say.
Okay, look, I will grant that in the books, Scott's maturation is much more satisfying because you get to see it on a much more granular level. You get to see moments like Scott moving out of the man cave that he shares with Wallace, Scott getting a job, Scott making a go of living with Ramona, and kind of how Scott reacts to the evolution of everyone around him. Mm-hmm. Because the whole thing with Scott is Scott, contrary to the frustrations of everyone around him, who even at the start of the movie are clearly getting fed up with propping him up repeatedly, he is blissfully and obliviously coasting. He is treading water with no clue and no interest to really be filled in on what is going on around him. It's why in the movie I absolutely love Kieran Culkin playing Wallace as this kind of indefatigable gay Yoda.
Yoda. Sorry.
This dryly sarcastic conscience, as opposed to his being far more exasperated in the books most of the time. Mm-hmm. And really just being able to just kind of every time just always just kind of sidestep the same annoyance with Scott that plagues everyone else, and just calmly shake his head. But really, at the start of the movie, we kind of start to see the dawning of Scott realizing just his status in life, just where he is at 23 years old. And yeah, it's the progression is not as smooth throughout the movie. It's not as dynamic. But no, I still found it completely satisfying when Scott kind of had the darkest hour come to Jesus moment with Ramona in the subspace highway.
Mm-hmm.
And he comes back, and yeah, as it says, he gains the power of self-respect. And with that self-respect also comes a certain self-awareness and a realization that he's willing to as it says, fight for himself, not for someone else, to be his own advocate, because it's kind of him figuring out what everyone has to have beaten into them at some point or another, and that is the most hollow motivation for doing anything in the world is to do it for somebody else, is to do it for anybody other than yourself. To have anything less than some kind of relatively firm roots in the notion that you are motivated to a certain extent by your own interest. And in a sense, that's also what brings about him looking at everyone around him and kind of acknowledging them, showing them their due respect, what they deserve, whether it's, apologizing to him and Knives and Ramona, giving Neil his credit that the band is better off with him than they ever were with Scott. Just kind of right on down the line, and wanting to fight his own battles and to do it because it's what's best for him, for his dignity, for his own self-respect. I think that once you read through the books all the way, you will absolutely see what I mean.
I can only judge the film by the film, though, and I get what you're saying, and I definitely want to read the other books, but I have to judge the film by what's in the film, and that's, I think, why I came away with that. I don't feel like I don't feel there were two things about the conclusion, because again, I was mostly enjoying the movie, and I was tolerating this character who, by and large, I didn't like. But I was willing to, to sort of make some concessions to get through it. And with those concessions, I was enjoying myself and having a good time. And then at the end, he goes through this, and as you put, and I think rightly so, he's I'm doing this for love, and that doesn't work, and that's ineffective. Mm-hmm. And then he dies, and then he gets reborn, and he gets a second shot at it, and he's like, okay, well, I'm doing this for myself. I'm doing this because I'm not a shitty person. And I deserve, I deserve respect. And I deserve.
Well, I think it's more so because not that he deserves it, but because he wants to be better and deserve it. Okay. Because the whole thing about doing it for another person's love is, if something catastrophic should happen to ever immolate that bond, no matter how powerful, no matter how ardent it is, I mean, then what are you left with? So in terms of your motivation, it just went up in ash with everything else. But on the other hand, if you're doing it for you, that's the constant. That's the anchor. That's who you have to wake up to and face in the mirror every single day.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, and maybe that's what he realizes. Maybe that's kind of the secret to it all, is he addresses everybody close to him around him who are a lot of them are going through their own changes. For Stills and Kim in particular, the band has achieved their big break, and they did it without him, and he's able to just be happy for them, and to be happy for the one who stepped into his shoes and out of the shadows, young Neil. He's able to fully apologize to Knives and tell her the truth, no matter how poor a light it may cast him in, that he was the one who hurt her, that Ramona had nothing to do with it. And he's even able to tell Ramona, I really don't deserve you either, because I was no better to you than I was to Knives. And again, it's subtle, but it's there. It's a theme of how we deal with that one Big Bang supernova moment that just throws everything off course. It's very much implied throughout the movie, although we never get to see it as we do in the books. No, I'm not going to quit bringing it up because it's such a key part of this discussion. That envy wasn't always envy. She wasn't always this absolute blonde Valkyrie force of nature, holding sway over every stage that she stepped on. Once she was just Natalie. She was just Scott's much more ordinary but down to earth girlfriend. Scott kind of fears cutting his hair throughout the entire movie because he has become absolutely petrified of any kind of change. He associates that change with the downfall of the relationship that crushed him. He'll cling to anything, even mediocrity, as long as it's a constant. And then you've got Ramona. She leaves her native country and comes to the great frozen north looking for a change because she's extremely conscious, unlike Scott, of just what a wretched person she's in and how much hurt she's inflicted on others in her capricious younger days. But she struggles with it constantly, both literally and metaphorically. She can never fully escape it, and you can just tell that just eats at her, just persistently. She's always weighed down. And then you have that moment where you can tell that – the moments, I should say, where you can tell that Kim is not nearly as over Scott as she might have you believe. And there's that just little fraction of a second at the end when Scott apologizes and actually means it and seems to acknowledge that he understands how much he hurt her, when her lip just kind of barely starts to curl into a smile. And even Knives kind of being able to be at peace after the end and realize that she's gone from being this, child whose eyes are so dewy with wonder because this kind of, awkward, soft-spoken, but maybe just, slightly puckish, impish white boy has broken through this miasma, this monotony of just nice boys from her own culture who have just kind of been foisted upon her. And it just breaks her whole world open and just lets all these new lights and experiences in. But by the end, she realizes that that's no longer the end-all be-all, that she's had her heart broken and she's come through it okay and still alive. And yeah, love kind of took her and did the wacky for a little bit, but she's kind of she's still there. She's still able to walk away with her head held high and realize that she can be happy for Scott. She can be happy for Ramona, for somebody else. Am I reading a lot into it? Yeah, maybe. But I also defy you to tell me that it's not there.
I wasn't. That wasn't the point that I was making. So let me get this out, because it's really my only big complaint about the movie. I was having a fine time up until the end. I don't feel like Scott's maturation, the completion of his arc is really earned, especially the way that it's done. And again, I'm not going to get into all the all the books and all this other stuff. I'm going by what I saw there, and essentially the way that the movie is written and thus directed is that he does a thing, he still messes up. He messes up at the very end, and he dies, and then there's a conversation, and then he gets to redo it. And to me, just from a strictly cinematic, dramatic standpoint, really undercuts what you're trying to get across in this movie. You know, it's essentially like Indiana Jones gets to the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark and dies, and then through the power of magic, someone says to him, "Hey, Indy, this time around, try it this way," and he goes, "Right." And this time he doesn't open his eyes, and the Ark doesn't kill him. And it's stuff like that. It's Luke Skywalker misses the shot at the end of Star Wars, and and he and Darth Vader blows him up. And while he's in Star Wars heaven, Obi-Wan says to him, "Listen, this time use the Force, stupid." Okay, whoop. Here we go again. Take two. I mean, dramatic tension is real, and while I get an argument to be made for, yeah, but there's a video game aesthetic with this, and with video games you get a second life.
It's the motif, yeah.
It is the motif, but that's all. It also works for video games. It doesn't, for me at least. And I guess this is up for debate, but this is my review, and this is what I think. I don't think it lends itself well to the cinematic experience. I think it cheapens it. So this whole thing started with, I don't feel like he got anywhere towards the end because of that. That's part of it. The second part of it is, and again, this might have been asking the movie for a lot, but I think it might have been stronger had he not been with Ramona in the end. I think had they agreed to just be friends and kind of go their separate ways, and Scott, is able to be alone with himself, because the whole movie is him struggling with not being in a relationship and kind of, being in a relationship despite himself. Mm-hmm. And then, when he's like, I gain the power of self-respect, and I'm like, okay, I'm kind of with you there. And then at the end, it's like, you hurt these two girls in two different ways. You don't deserve either one of them, and you kind of what you do deserve is a moment to be alone and reflective and figure out what the next best step is to get to a better place in life. Maybe with somebody else too, but let's get there first. And instead, they're like, nope, happy ending. He gets the girl in the end.
So like, you would have maybe preferred like the 8 Mile ending.
Yeah. I would have. I what I wanted to see was, Knives kind of go, hey, you were my first boyfriend. It didn't work out, but I'm better off for it. God, good luck and God bless. And then him turn around to Ramona and be like, hey, it didn't work out, but it got me to a better place. And I wish you, all the best. And, and I don't think we need to be in a relationship. I think we were good for each other for a moment, but we are not best for each other forever. And then they go their separate ways and let Scott kind of, walk down the road by himself, as the last shot of the movie. I think that's a much stronger ending as opposed to the, the hero gets the girl, which I'll say it again, I don't think is deserved. But just so I don't end this spiel on negativity, because it's like I'm focusing on this one part of the movie where I feel like it kind of goes off a cliff for me. But the rest of it, without focusing on kind of Michael Cera and his milksop sort of presentation, it's a very colorful. I love Edgar Wright's directing. Edgar Wright knows how to frame a shot. He knows how to keep a movie busy without it being overwhelming. It's like, I wish Edgar Wright would give lessons to George Lucas on how to fill a shot with stuff without overstuffing it like a turkey.
See, on the other hand, I love that if you're paying attention, if you're really watching, Edgar is able to sort of say so much through some of his background gags.
Yeah, it's like he's saying the opposite of Lucas, who's just filling the screen with shit that's meaningless. Because it's like, look, I can do a dinosaur now. You're right.
Edgar is much more subtle. Like, for example, one of my favorite shots.
I would say he's very much more purposeful.
Yes.
With what's in the shot.
Yes. Well, let's start with the credits. If you're watching the opening credits, you can see that each of those bits of scratch art that plays over each performer's name is a little reference to their character. It's a little precursor to what's to come. Lucas gets a skateboard. Gideon, he kind of draws out a Chaos Theater logo. There's Roxy's bladed belt. Steven Stills gets a guitar. There's a little coffee stain for Stacy Pilgrim. A little bit of just wingdings for kind of bleeping out profanity, I think. For Aubrey Plaza's character's name.
She is Julie Powers.
I'm blanking. Julie, yes, thank you. But the other one is in one of the scenes where the realization has dawned on Scott and the terror is kind of still washing over him as he's walking down the street. It's the same sequence where he rips the X off his jacket and throws it down. If you're paying attention, at this point, he's defeated two X's. He's defeated Matthew Patel and Lucas Lee. If you're watching, as he's hanging over his head from like telephone wires, it's construction signage or something. There's 5 X's that he walks beneath. There's the fact that Todd Ingram is wearing a 3 on his shirt. And this was even pointed out in the commentary on the DVD. Scott is – you can kind of tell kind of what level Scott is at by looking at his shirt. Because for most of the movie, he's wearing a 0 until he kind of starts to mature and level up. But – yeah, so many terrific gags like that. Lots of doodles and nods to Brian Lee O'Malley's original artwork. But like you said, even it's stuff that stands out even amidst all the visual pyrotechnics that are going on all around you at all times. And speaking of which, we can't talk about this movie without talking about how fantastically choreographed the fight scenes are. Choreographed and shot.
They are very stylized, I will give you that. They are very stylized, they are very busy, they are very fun, they are kinetic and energetic. They are pleasing to, I think, most eyes. I know one person in particular hates this movie, who I'm sure would disagree with all of that, but for most normal humans... For most normal human beings, those are fun fight scenes that are fun to watch.
Look, it's not Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
I think he wanted John Wick.
But what I appreciate, it's not supposed to be fucking John Wick.
Why? Everything should be
God
John Wick.
Damn it.
Everything conspiracy and everything John Wick.
It's Canadian 20-something indie kids having kung fu brawls in some of Toronto's finest dive bars.
John Wick or nothing.
Sit down, chow down, and shut the fuck up. No, but you get nicely framed shots. You can tell what's going on at all times. Mm-hmm. The cuts aren't too fast. I mean, yeah, you're not going to see super long one take, one shot fights like in Marvel's Daredevil or Punisher or Luke Cage. No, nothing like that. But there's a sense of knowing just when to move the camera, when to cut away. Everything has a purpose about it, and I never felt like the fights dragged on too long. Just kind of at one level. You've always got something that's evolving, some new element that's being thrown into the mix to give you something new to pay attention to. But you don't have to zoom in unnecessarily or make like it's your average episode of WWE Raw and cutting the camera away every 2 seconds even when somebody's mid-move. You know, that's hard not to appreciate. Mm-hmm. Especially since you see so many movies that have no idea how to show some damn restraint.
I was thinking about like when Neo is reborn in the Matrix, you know, and he's starting to block punches. Kind of reminded me, especially the first fight. It kind of reminded me of that, where you know everything is just flowing so naturally and so simply and coming so easily to him. From strictly from an aesthetic point of view, I like that. I like the fact that I like the contrast in Michael Cera being again this milksoppy character, but then when confronted in this manner, he is suddenly a master of the martial arts, and it comes so easily to him, and knowingly comes so easily to him. It's one of the things I did leave out of the book. You know, they talk in the book about him. You know, he's the best fighter in Toronto.
Best fighter in the province, son.
Yeah. It doesn't come up in the movie, unfortunately, and I think that was a loss. It was something I think was sorely missing. But you sometimes like as we keep saying, in an adaptation, you just can't have everything. I don't have a whole lot else to add. I'm going to go through a couple of performances really quick. I've said a number of times now, I loved Kieran Culkin in this. Kieran Culkin is so good, and he's so funny, and I don't know who I love more, him or Hugh Grant in the Gentleman, but I just think that, I love that kind of character, and I love it when it's played well, and you're right, he's exhausted by Scott Pilgrim, which I think if there was a character that I could relate to, it's Kieran Culkin's Wallace Wells. It was, I get you, man. I get why this guy is tiresome and exhausting and frustrating, and you're just like, ugh, can't we talk about anything else? Boy, have I been there. So I loved Kieran Culkin in this. Chris Evans is hilarious, and we know him in modern times as Captain America, but it's so easy to forget that he's such a great actor. Like, he's so good in Knives Out. He's hilarious. And in this one, where he's able to just chew scenery and be a doofus, he's great. Anna Kendrick is one of those actresses where I'll watch anything she's in, no matter how stupid it is or how not my thing it is. Because, I'll watch the Pitch Perfect movies, even though I don't love them, because Anna Kendrick is all the things all the time. Brie Larson plays this character very well. I enjoyed her more in Community than I did this, but I looked at the cast for this. I was like, holy shit, is this the entire Freaks and Geeks fucking cast that's in this thing?
What?
That whole era of, well, not just Freaks and Geeks, but that whole era of actors that kind of came out around that time.
I was gonna say Brie Larson wasn't on Community.
No, but there's a collection of actors, kind of like the Brat Pack, that was all got kind of popular around the same time.
No, you're thinking of Allison Brie.
I may be thinking of several different actors.
Well, yeah, Brie Larson was in United States of Terra.
Yeah, and one or two episodes of Community. Alison Pill, as I said before, is so. I didn't realize she was in this, and I was like, I think the first time I'd seen Alison Pill in anything that I'd watched recently was in The Newsroom, and she's an adult and she's playing a much different character. She's so funny in this. She gives such an understated, subtle, but sardonic performance, and she's hilarious. Aubrey Plaza, I have loved Aubrey Plaza for years. She was great on Legion. She's great in Mike and Schmucky Need Dates for the Wedding or whatever the hell the name of the movie is. Almost anything I've seen Audrey Plaza in, and there's stuff that she's in that I want to see. She's great, and I don't think she gets her due, credit for how great of an actress she is. She's one of these where she doesn't always take roles that stretch, but when she does, she's phenomenal, and she knocks it out of the park, and I don't know if she gets credit for that or not. But her Julie Powers character, the way she plays her, is very funny. Mm-hmm. I talked about Brandon Routh. I think he got a raw deal with Superman, but he got to be the Atom, and he got to be on DC's Legends of Tomorrow, so all's well that ends well. But he's great. I love Brandon Routh in this. Jason Schwartzman's fine. And Ellen Wong as Knives Chow is just chock full of earnest and charisma. And I could have watched an entire Knives Chow movie, quite frankly. I thought her story was more interesting.
See, and we didn't even get to meet her ninja dad in this one.
No. I would see. We need a Knives Chow spinoff.
Well, and that's the amazing thing is you've got something when you can be so endeared to certain characters who get such minimal screen time. Mm-hmm. I mean, Aubrey, God, I think her screen time probably clocks in at under 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. Anna's definitely does. Kieran gets quite a bit of time to shine. What I appreciate most about Allison is to take a deadpan performance like that and continually make it kind of that engaging and funny. It really takes some timing. Mm-hmm. It's not just simply just whipping out your best monotone.
I wanted to be there in the room when Edgar Wright was directing her. All right, Allison, I need you to make a face like someone just kicked you in the vagina and you're holding in your pain.
And yet, it's one of those explosions truly mean something when they're surrounded by silence. Mm-hmm. So the entire movie, she's speaking in these brief one-line witticisms. But then, when it's time to count off the next song...
Mm-hmm. Yep, ball of fire. All right, I'm going to give you the last word here. Anything left unsaid that you want to say about the craft of this movie, and then we're going to move on. This is it. It's all been leading to this moment, Sean. Everything you've ever wanted to say about it. Go! Go, man, go!
It is, for the most part, a damn near perfect comedy. If it's not perfect, it is damn close to it, because you have, again, a cast full of people that are either just doing what they do best or taking a step outside their wheelhouse and clearly having the goddamn times of their lives. It's just like the books. It's a love letter to the Canadian indie scene, Toronto, gaming, manga. It is a more fantastic version, almost believable version of the world that your average Torontonian just kind of lives in every day, because it references actual bars, actual places. It is Canadian without going full on maple syrup, mousse, and hockey sticks. Without going full Mackenzie Brothers or SCTV. It's one of those movies I absolutely firmly believe that everyone should see at least once, and if you see it once and you maybe don't quite get it, please watch it a second time. Because trust me, take my word for it, it will sink in. And the last thing I would throw out there is, it doesn't go said enough that the evil X's only get so much screen time, but they are able to pack so much unique character definition into their brief moments on screen, and really kind of set all their own fights apart in their own ways. God, I was grinning like a kid at Christmas during the Sex Bob-omb versus Katyanagi twins battle. When they summoned dragons versus a Sasquatch. Just the incredible ninja assassin duel with Roxy, all the goofy cartoonish showmanship and antics of Lucas Lee's fight, the Bollywood style fighting game throwdown with Matthew Patel, and the rumble with Todd being like a Dragon Ball Z throwdown that happened to land right in the middle of a dive bar. It just, like I said, every time you watch this, if you watch it more than once, you will find something brand new to be fascinated by. I can promise you that.
All right, before we head into the next section of the podcast, I do want to talk about the music. If there's one thing, aside from the aesthetic look of the movie that I really enjoyed, it was also the music. I was having a good time with the music in this. And if you want to check out the music, all the soundtracks are streaming on AmazonMusic.com. And if you want to check out all of the soundtracks for free, you should click our link at getamazonmusic.com/W2Mnetwork. That's getamazonmusic.com/W2Mnetwork. You get yourself a free 30 days of Amazon Music, and you can check out all the Scott Pilgrim video games and soundtracks, and Anamanaguchi and Master Band and Mott the Hoople and whatever else you find out there. Sex Bomb, Beck, the Pixies. Where is my mind? All of it. It's all there for you reading on AmazonMusic.com. Get yourself a free 30 days and have yourself a time. All right, so with that said, this is re-released in theaters right now, so there is some money to talk about. So here it is. Here comes the money.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money. Money, money, money.
Dollar, dollar. Dollar, dollar.
All right, so the budget on this thing, as we talked about before, was $60 to $85 million. In its initial box office run, it made about $49 million. So this thing bombed pretty hard, but it has had a second life as a cult classic on video and whatnot. And more specifically, it got re-released in theaters, as we talked about earlier, on April 30th. And according to Box Office Pro, in a tweet from earlier today, about 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, its total North American lifetime earnings are $32.56 million, just North American. Its North American re-release total, as of this recording, is 970,000. For the weekend, it debuted in 8th place between The Unholy, which dropped from 6 to 7, and Tom and Jerry, which was 7 to 9. It grossed 729,000 in 152 theaters for an average of $4,802 for again a total gross of 729,930. Its daily totals, since it, hang on, let me go back to this again. All right, so its daily totals. There we go. On Friday, April 30th, it was the 6th ranked movie of the day, earning a $339,000 in 152 theaters. On May 1st, it stayed in 6th place. Sunday, May 2nd, it was 6th place again, and it dropped down to 161. May 3rd, it shot up to 4th place with earning 773,000. May 4th, as of May 4th, it dropped to 5th, and then earning its highest rank per day. And it looks like it was it's still in the same amount of theaters. So I guess like over time, people have gotten, since it's been out since April 30th, people have gotten interested in this and have taken the time to go to the theater to see it, at least in some part. It jumped up to number 3 for the day as of Wednesday, May 5th, and that was a change of plus 11.8%. So, good for Scott Pilgrim. Doesn't really matter what I think. I'm just happy people are discovering it and and are seeing its value and are able to see this in the movie. Because I'll tell you, if you're able to see it on a Dolby screen at a theater near you, it really is worth it. Yeah, do it. As far as that goes, that's it. Worldwide, I don't even know where this thing landed. Probably not very high. Yeah, it's currently the 109th movie worldwide. I mean, even the re-releases of The Lord of the Rings, some of them did better than this so far. But, it's fine. It's doing what it's doing. It's currently sitting between The North Wind, which made a little over $1 million, and Zoya, oh boy, which made a little less than $1 million. So it's sitting right there.
This is also why we don't put all of our eggs in the basket of either the critics or the audience.
Worldwide right now, Hi Mom, I'm only going to do the top 10. Hi Mom, Detective Chinatown 3, Godzilla still holding strong in the top 3 spots, and then A Writer's Odyssey, Sister, Tom and Jerry at number 6, much to the chagrin of Alexis Hana and Robert Winfrey. Raya and the Last Dragon currently at number 7, Endgame at number 8, and Boonie Bears at number 9, and finally Evangelion number 10. Mortal Kombat not even in the top 10 yet right now. It's currently sitting at number 11. How about that?
Damn.
Yeah. I want to correct a mistake I made from Sunday. I was wondering where Demon Slayer was in the top 20, the top 10 for 2021. It came out in 2020, so that's where its numbers are applied to. Worldwide, it's currently made $428,000, making it the second highest earner for 2020, right behind the 800 and just above Bad Boys for Life, Robert Winfrey's favorite movie of 2020. That's a lie. So that's where it is. I don't know. I think from what I've read, it's probably going to stay in theaters maybe another week or so, and then they're going to pull it. I talked about Mortal Kombat only lasted in the number 1 spot for a week, and then Demon Slayer, in its second week, was the number 1 movie. That made some pretty big headlines. This week is Wrath of Man. As of this recording, it'll be tomorrow when it debuts, and I think that'll be the number 1 movie of this weekend. So, if you have a chance to see Scott Pilgrim and it's still playing in a theater, go see it. Otherwise, I think it's done what it's going to do. You have any thoughts or words or prayers about the money?
Not really. Box office returns were never something that I could be particularly arsed to give a shit about when it came to this, and for most movies for that matter. I mean, I would have loved to have seen it do better because I think that the cast and creators and everyone behind it absolutely deserved that kind of success for putting together just this absolute nerdy masterpiece. But at the same time, this was never something that was built for mainstream consumption. This was built for the gamers. This was made for the indie nerds. This one was for the fans. And I think it resonated with who it needed to resonate with.
Point of note: last 3 days, the number 1 movie in the theaters has been, in terms of daily totals, has actually been Separation. It was Mortal Kombat on April 30th, and then Demon Slayer, and then May 3rd, 4th, and 5th was this movie Separation. So that's interesting. Yeah, Morgan. Tell you what, Demon Slayer and Mortal Kombat have been having a sissy slap fight. It's just been back and forth. Interestingly enough, wow, for a while there it was just the movie Nobody, then Demon Slayer, then Mortal Kombat, then Nobody again, and then Demon Slayer, Mortal Kombat, then Demon Slayer, and then finally the last 3 days Separation. I find this stuff eminently fascinating, but I'm kind of a nerd when it comes to box office returns. I like studying this stuff. All right.
Well, and I mean, when it comes to movies, I'm more apt to see the little passion project somebody brought to Netflix or Amazon Prime or Hulu, something like that. Fuck me, I'm trying to remember the last movie that I actually saw in theaters. I think it was, holy shit, I think it might have been Captain Marvel.
Wow.
Yeah, wow, indeed. Holy shit.
You didn't get to see Endgame in the theater? Like, it just wasn't available to you, or you weren't able to?
Oh, no, you know what? I stand corrected. No, we did see Endgame in theaters.
Okay.
Yes, we did. I think that might have been... Because I think that might have just been Ann and I that went to see that one, and I could have sworn that for Captain Marvel, we had at least 2 or 3 other people with us.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Oh wait, no. Yeah, Endgame. Yeah, I was briefly getting Infinity War and Endgame mixed up. Yeah, I think Endgame was probably the last time my butt was actually in a cinema seat.
Wow. All right. Let's go ahead and just a point of note that they announced today, and I'm going to share this just to have something else to share. But Cinderella, which was supposed to come out July 16th, which is the one with the non-gender fairy godmother, and I think, I can't remember who the lead singer actress is in it. It doesn't say. Darn it. This was a big deal. It was Sony's sort of musical take on Cinderella, and it was very inclusive, and it had all kinds of things going on with it. Well, they've pulled it from theaters. It's going straight to Netflix or some shit.
Why? Why did it get yanked?
Who knows?
Aside from the probably obvious reason.
Sony not trusting how things are going in the theaters and needing to have it. We talked about this earlier today when we reviewed the Mitchells versus the Machines. You can either take the chance that your movie is going to do okay or not do okay in the theaters, or you can just take the definite money offered by a streaming service and just, you'll make your you'll make your known tiny profit doing that, but that's all you're going to make, and you'll be satisfied with that. Or you take the chances that you may or may not make any money at all. And I think Sony is looking at the current landscape and just like, we're not putting out anything that's like a Fast and the Furious level or Black Widow. And so we're not sure that even in a summertime release that it's going to make enough money to be worth the effort. So if we're getting offers from streaming services for a concrete amount, let's take the easy money rather than the gamble. The other one was Infinite.
I'll be honest with you. There's all these things that have been products of the pandemic year.
Mm-hmm.
That some things that I think are going to hold up and are going to become kind of new societal normals.
Mm-hmm.
And that's good. And then there are other things where I get the feeling some of us are going to look at this and go, this really wasn't half bad. Maybe we consider just kind of playing the course with this a little bit. But the people whose decisions actually matter are going to go, nah. and part of that is, unpopular as it may be, and yeah, guess what? I'm saying this on a show called Damn You Hollywood. I would not mind if there were fewer movies actually coming to theaters. Like if the theatrical experience was something that was reserved for those massive blockbusters, those movies that just aren't quite the same experiencing them on a flat screen in your living room as it is on an IMAX screen with Dolby sound in 3D, throngs all around you sharing in the experience. There's some movies where I get that, and it's also a fantastic way to re-release movies like Scott Pilgrim and others, help them find a new audience. Give them some real fanfare. But I think I would like it if a few more movies would maybe be released to streaming services, or like straight to streaming services, or given concurrent releases in both theaters and on streaming.
So there's a tweet that just came across my Twitter feed from Exhibitor Relations Co., which is one of the insider movie Twitter feeds that I follow, and it says lo-fi sci-fi continue to trek towards streaming. The Tomorrow War starring Chris Pratt, Bio starring Tom Hanks, and now Paramount's Infinite starring I think Mark Wahlberg, which moves from a traditional theatrical release to Paramount Plus. Finally, the mountain bets on itself and bolsters its digital domain. So that's the other kind of headline takeaway to take away from all of this, is that for these major studio streaming services, Disney Plus, Paramount Plus, Peacock for NBC Universal, not even like Netflix and Hulu. Well, Hulu's part of Disney, but I digress. They need to bolster their content. I mean, it was, HBO Max, as we talked about ad nauseum on here, was driven to put their entire slate into split showings because they were, no one knew back in January or December when the pandemic was going to let up and when we were going to have enough mass inoculations to have mass gatherings again. Disney not that long ago made Cruella and not only pushed back Black Widow, but then made it a split release with it's Disney Plus Premium, where you have to pay the $30 like you did with Mulan and Raya and the Last Dragon. But then left Cruella on its date, but did the same thing because again, it's like, well, maybe it makes money, maybe it doesn't. I mean, Kong versus Godzilla brought people to the theaters, and then like word of mouth got out on Mortal Kombat, and nobody saw it. So, you never know. Maybe people don't like Black Widow, and then they don't come, and it's like, then what do you do? So anyway, let's go ahead and move on to our final segment of the evening.
Are you ready? No! I said, are you ready?
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
The critical review is brought to you by Grammarly. Grammarly's AI-powered products help people communicate more effectively. Grammarly helps you write mistake-free on Gmail, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and nearly anywhere else you write on the web. Grammarly corrects hundreds of grammar, punctuation, and spelling mistakes while also catching contextual errors, improving your vocabulary, and suggesting style improvements. To download Grammarly today, go to getgrammarly.com/W2Mnetwork. Again, that's getgrammarly.com/W2Mnetwork to download Grammarly for free. All right, Sean, here's all the critics who once upon a time hated this movie, and here's why. Ready? Sick 'em. Get 'em. Deborah Ross, The Spectator, top critic. Energy, invention, and audacity count for little unless you can sense something at its core. Unless a film gives you something to feel, but there is zilch here. It's hollow.
Completely disagree.
Yeah, I mean, I had my issues with it, but yeah, it definitely made me feel things, like, if nothing else, frustration at times. But it was not a nothing movie. I think this person misses the point. Daniel Carson of Pajiba, or Pajiba, however you want to pronounce it. When your hero can just hit the reset button, it's awfully hard to worry about him.
And that's like saying he spends the entire movie doing this.
Right.
That's once more entirely missing the point. And if you want to boil it down to a gaming metaphor, it's Scott making the ultimate dumbass mistake that could end everything. But he realizes he's got one more shot, and he's determined to go all in on it.
Robbie Collin, whose beard tells you everything you need to know about this guy. News of the World top critic. It's a string of scenes. It's a blur of faces. It's a heaving great 2-hour maelstrom of noise and punching. But it's not a proper movie.
Then what is it, you nose up your own anus hipster? What?
His beard is judging us. I can tell.
Okay. I would rather like to yank him around by it. Because I mean, it's not a movie. Okay, number one, I have to assume you watched at least one of the trailers. Do tell, what were you coming in expecting?
This we often find doing this segment that there are definitely reviewers who got forced to see some of these movies and did not want to, and it comes out in their reviews.
Well, yeah, exactly. And number two, frankly, if you didn't get it, then clearly it wasn't made for you, and there's nothing wrong with that. But just acknowledge it wasn't made for you, and maybe try to see it from the perspective of the people this was built to gear toward and to appeal to.
Tony Macklin of TonyMacklin.net. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World is a film full of sound and fury signifying what the fuck it's slick shtick.
Who is Tony Macklin, and why is he important enough that it should that he should just name the site just after himself? Like that alone should be enough to draw me to it.
Yeah, there's a lot of people on Rotten Tomatoes where Robert and I have asked, how the hell did you get on this site? Margaret Pomerantz of At the Movies Australia. She has too many X's, Sean. They should have stopped at 4. Because it just means these repetitive fights that are the same, and they're all unbelievable, and it becomes extremely tedious. Yes, this is another woman who did not want to go see this movie.
Tedious? Again, the fights are all different. They're all entirely unique. Yes, they're all fights, but they all have their own character. And again, you have Mae Whitman, Brandon Routh, the guy who played Matthew Patel. I'm sorry, I don't remember your name. I am genuinely sorry because, God, you absolutely lit it up. Chris Evans, the Katyanagi twins, Jason Schwartzman, they all brought their own thing to the table, and they all kind of maximized their minutes. They made that time count. This was just such self-important shit flinging.
Well, speaking of which, Christian Toto of What Would Toto Watch? I feel like he's changed his site since then because I don't remember it being What Would Toto Watch. I figured it was like Christian in Toto or something like that. Anyway, in this particular instance, he said Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, or its alternate title, Dude, Where's My Attention Span? Get him, Sean.
Dude, where's my attention span? The fuck are you talking about? What do you mean? Why does a movie being an absolute visual feast necessarily equate to just appealing strictly to people with no attention span? And if so, fuck me sideways. How many movies does that throw in the bin?
Oh, you're gonna love this next one. This is great because you were bringing up the books earlier and saying it's very hard to talk about the movie without talking about the books. Well, Gary Wolcott says of the Tri-City Herald, cast anyone else in the lead role and it might work. I assume the Scott Pilgrim of the graphic novels is actually masculine and has all the correct and working body parts.
Swing and a big miss.
Yeah, you not only threw the bat and hit the umpire, but you might have actually knocked a baby out in the process.
Holy shit, was that... No, and again, that's... I alluded to this the other day. Michael Cera gets to play the one kind of character he plays really well, and it just happens to be immaculately suited to this movie. Like hand in a glove, like Will Smith playing Ali, like Jamie Foxx playing Ray Charles. That's how perfect he is for it.
Did you see Kick-Ass?
I did.
Okay. Would you say that Kick-Ass and Scott Pilgrim versus the World are the same movie?
Not even remotely close.
Good, because James Vernier disagrees with you, of the Boston Herald. Scott Pilgrim versus the World arrives, and the internerds, who fell in love with the 2004 comic book, graphic novel, rejoice. But the film is, like the comics creator, tragically Canadian. It's Kick-Ass Redux. This guy made a list of words and then decided to put those words in sentences without actually knowing what they meant.
Okay. First off, suck my geeky cock.
There we go.
You xenophobic elitist. Second, I'll tell you one big difference right now. Scott Pilgrim was not written by an inflamed ingrown pubic hair. And three, my God, could you look down your nose any further at an audience? Yeah. Everything from sniping at O'Malley from being Canadian to taking another slap at nerd culture. Surprise, surprise. We should all be so used to that by now.
Going in that same direction, Eric Childress of eFilmCritic.com, an infuriating exercise in geek baiting, populated by unlikable characters, that grows more frustrating through its 113 minutes. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World is more like a feature-length adaptation of Reality Bites the Video Game.
Dude, okay. Look, I've been writing for a living for years. Freudian slips happen. But this is why you read the review out loud, to ensure that you're not saying Scott Pilgrim versus the World when I want to believe you meant Ready Player One. Totally. This is a love letter to geek culture. This is a big, explosive, theatrical love letter to geek culture. Nerd baiting is the other guy's work. the one where it's basically licensed property bukkake, but with none of the endearing charm and imagination of something like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, or even the Imagination Land two-parter of South Park. This is wholly different.
Yeah. This is a good one. Stephanie Zacharik of Movie Line, top critic. Okay? Best of the best. They get paid for this. So what if he passes the Herculean He-Man test the story puts him through? He still has all the sexual charisma of an untied shoelace. And even a woman who likes the soft touch can't do much with that. Poor Michael Cera.
That's the joke. But and what your point? That's kind of the whole vibe of it. Is, Ramona has been around and she's been utterly trashed by these larger than life figures and broken plenty of their hearts too. And as she says, she alludes to during the movie, she just wants something real, something that's a little more earthy, that's a little more honest.
So, Sean, remember many years ago, and if you don't remember, you can be reminded this Saturday when it re-airs, when we talked about the Twilight Saga?
I do.
Okay. Well, according to Marianne Johansson, a flick philosopher, this is Twilight for boys. It's the indulgence of everything a not quite adult, no longer a kid, man-child could want from a woman.
No. No. Just no.
Twilight for boys.
How do you... I'm sorry. I'm sitting here trying to artfully wrap my brain around how she could possibly come to that conclusion. Ramona in this movie is a bitch.
Mm-hmm.
She is an utter bitch. If anybody in this movie was truly, actually, legitimately likable girlfriend material, it was probably either Knives or Stacy.
Right.
You know, you get the feeling maybe Kim once upon a time, but Ramona, God, Ramona is repellent for most of the movie. That's one of my few kind of long-standing critiques. Is Mary Elizabeth Winstead really kind of took the edge a little bit too far?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last one, and then we'll end for the night. But it's a doozy, so it's been a while since we've seen Angry Sean. Maybe this brings it out of you. Maybe this finally breaks you. I thought we were getting there, and then you're like, no, I am Zen. I am Dr. Banner, holding in the Hulk. But this segment was designed to bring the Hulk out, so let's see what happens here. Kirk Honeycutt of The Hollywood Reporter, top critic, Red Star. He gets paid for this. He's best of the best. This is a discouragingly limp movie where nothing is at stake.
Limp? Limp. By what fucking metric was this limp? Okay, I could see the story maybe not being for you. You feel like the characters weren't fleshed out enough over the course of it. Fair play. It is what it is to get this comfortably into a 2-hour package. But again, one of the most admirable aspects of this, you fucking flake of elitist crotch rot, is that it makes up for all of that character development that got left out by amping it up into something that is a loud, fun feast for the eyes and ears. The music is superb throughout. It is an ode to so many fantastic bands. So many of the bands in this movie are actually kind of modeled in tribute to real bands like Beck and Metric. You have some of the better fight choreography to ever come out of an action comedy that I've ever seen. Like, it jumps off the page as far as recreating the action of the comic, and doing so in some instances goddamn near flawlessly, might I add. I don't know what you... This is limp. God, I would hate to hear you try to explain an erection to somebody. If that's what you think limp is. Utter jackwagons, the whole lot of them.
I do so very much love this segment. See, I knew we should have done this as Samuel Hollywood and not an on-trial. So much better.
You threw me a curveball. You told me to expect a long road to ruin.
We're going to do all the Scott Pilgrim things all at once at the same time. Just when you think I'm talking about the book, I'm talking about the the cartoon. It's fine. I wrote that. I'm like, oh damn it, that's not what I meant. Anyway, so this, folks, was the main event of the week. This was the end of Scott Pilgrim week. We started with the book and worked all the way to the movie, which is now back in theaters. Along the way, we also did a watch-along for the video game on PS5, and we did a review of the soundtrack for said video game. But we also sprinkled in some other stuff. We reviewed the new Demon Slayer movie. My daughter was on that one. She had a hell of a good time. We re-aired our Rogue One review for May the 4th. We reviewed Pennyworth Season 2. Jesse and I had a good time with that. We re-aired our Brujeria, Viva Presidente Trump, and Azapazla for the Metal Hammer of Doom. Today we reviewed AEW Blood and Guts and The Mitchells vs. the Machines. This weekend, we've got some archive stuff for you. We've got No Fire in the Fireplace. We've got Days of Future Past, the Twilight Saga, Jessica Jones Season 1, and then the week starts anew with new and fresh content. It's Falcon and the Winter Soldier week, so we're looking at one of the comic books that influenced the show, specifically the Isaiah character, and that book is Truth, Red, White, and Black. We'll also be reviewing WrestleMania 2. Myself and Chris Bailey and Pat Mullen will be doing that. Wrath of Man debuts in theaters this tomorrow, so we'll do a Damn You Hollywood for that, because yay, Guy Ritchie. We'll also be doing a source material live for Deadpool the Duck. That's me and Evan Bevins. The Superblock team-up is this week. Coming up May 12th, we have 2 entries. We have Dr. Doolittle. That's me and Sean doing A Long Road to Ruin for the Eddie Murphy movies. And then myself and Jesse will be reviewing Dr. Feelgood by Motley Crue. Sean will be back with us in 6 days to review Weezer Van Weezer after his wonderful contribution to our OK Computer. No, what was it? OK, what was the name of the damn album?
OK Human?
OK Human. Yeah, OK Human. After being on for OK Human, he's back.
OK Human by Lisa
No.
and Mark Radulich.
Shut up. After no. Computer stop. Anyway, damn AI. So Sean joined us for the first Weezer review of the year, and now he'll be back for the second one. There, I finally got that out. And then finally, we end the week with our review of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. We'll have 97 people on who said it was great, and one Robert Winfrey who says we're all idiots. And that's it. That's what I got in the world going on. Sean, go ahead and do your plugs, and let's get out of here.
You know what? For plugs, follow me on Twitter at Comer Codex for updates on when I'm going to be going live at twitch.tv/Comer Codex. But more importantly, I need to step outside of being Sean the podcaster, Sean the critic, and just be Sean, because there's a very good reason why I really wanted to jump on this, and I've alluded to it, I think, on each episode. And these 3 are all dedicated to Jess. For the past 11 years, you have been my compass, my true north, my confidant, my conscience. You have been there for me through some of the highest of highs and lowest of lows. I cannot imagine the past decade without you in my life. This movie is always going to be ours. Full stop. There is not a frame of the movie. There's not a note of its music that does not make me think of you. And so, with your birthday right around the corner, and with July being, as I said, July 8th will be 11 years to the day since we met. This is truly me sending my love on a wire, and here's to many, 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 many countless years more of things we can share just like this. So, thank you, Jess, for everything. Love you.
Okay. For Sean, happy to have him here this week. I'm Mark Radulich. This has been Damn You Hollywood. Be well, be safe, and behave.